under the able leadership of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. K. Venugopal, for conducting the informative and academic workshop to inculcate and create awareness about the new education policy 2020.
NEP has emerged with the objective of improved and enhanced research through a holistic and multidisciplinary education approach. Establishment of National Research Foundation NRF is proposed under this policy. The overarching goal of the NRF will be to enable a culture of research to permeate through our universities. Under NEP, students will be provided with opportunities for internship with local industry, businesses, artists, craftspersons, etc., as well as research internships with faculty and researchers at their own or other higher education institutions or research institutions.
And this policy has very, very boldly brought this together, that the National Bank of Credits, the ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, will give now students opportunity to go on accumulating credits even before they formally start taking education. And they can redeem these credits for against certificate, against diploma, against degrees. They can go and come back, multiple entry, multiple exit. So all these are extremely innovative steps that the policy has taken.
Right from the new education policy, the education policy of 1835, Macaulay Smith, of that we should have good education and English education in this country, to now 2020, the new education policy, which is on the anvil, will make India a global superpower. We have seen once upon a time, the great founding father, Benjamin Franklin, said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me, I learn." This is the core of national education policy.
My special compliments to both of them for providing us this wonderful, very meaningful and NEP with great vision, probably for the first time in the country in a different fashion altogether. As both chairman and vice chairman of UGC were mentioning, this is totally student-centric policy.
The policy proposes to integrate formal schooling pattern at the age of 3 instead of 5. First 5 years, including the present first and second standard, constitutes the fundamental stage of or foundational stage of education. This will be followed by 3 to 5, that is 3 years, 6 to 8, again 3 years, 9 to 12, 4 years. This chain, that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, replaces 10 by 10 plus 2.
The new education policy 2020 has based its recommendations on the principle that education must not only develop cognitive skills, but also higher order cognitive skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, social and emotional well-being, good leadership, and good communication. This will encourage our young children to become self-motivated learners and future leaders.
So this implementation requires, it's, as I mentioned to you, it's a lot of political will. People, it requires government and all the bureaucracy and the governments need to come together and for one purpose of this implementing the policy.
The national education policy's avowed objective is to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society. And the beauty of this education policy is that it strikes a wonderful balance between accepting the best practices of the world on the one hand and reminding ourselves of the rootedness and pride in India. That means NEP 2020 is a judicious juxtaposition.
And in the NEP, they have talked about education plus something, essentially to take care of interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary concepts.
The objectives of NEP for higher education include quality universities and colleges towards holistic multidisciplinary education, equity and inclusion in higher education, reimagining vocational education, and restructuring of teacher education, motivated, energized and capable faculty, catalyzing quality academic research in all fields, adult education and lifelong learning, internationalization of higher education, promotion of Indian languages, arts and culture, technology use and its integration, online and digital education, financing under that affordably and quality education for all.
The National Education Policy, which talks about continuous upgradation, training of teachers, as well as whether it is college teachers or school teachers, and how technology skills can be imparted to the teachers. So these aspects have been already talked about in the National Education Policy. So that part will also be implemented apart from the B.Ed course, which will be introduced. So which is a multidisciplinary course again. So B.Ed becomes a common course for all disciplines.
The NEP proposes for transforming higher education institutions into large multidisciplinary universities, colleges, and HEI clusters, knowledge hubs, each of which aims to have more than 3,000 students. The NEP envisages cross-disciplinary collaborative research and study among students and faculty as well. The medium of instruction in local and Indian languages will bring back the glory and tradition of ancient Indian universities like Takshashila, Nalanda, Vallabhi, and Vikramashila, which were large multidisciplinary research and teaching universities. All HEIs will aim through their institutional development plans to attain the highest level of accreditation over the next 15 years. In the long run, accreditation will become a binary process.
Much to the dismay of many of my colleagues at IISc, we introduced the undergraduate program. I think that we should look at some of our existing universities. I can take the two examples in Delhi University and Jawaharlal Nehru University. The universities themselves don't have an undergraduate program, except in Jawaharlal Nehru University in a very limited way in one or two departments. The result is that university faculty and college faculty are sort of separated from one another.
Make the public education so strong, so good. In fact, there's no reason as to why the public education should be weak. Every state should be good. Once you make this public education stronger, automatically the commercialization will come. People don't go because it's a private school or a government school. They go, they have perception it is a good school. If the government schools also become good schools, there is no reason as to why commercialization will come. The best way is to develop the public institutions in quality and also in shape. As I always emphasize three things: good infrastructure, good instruction, and that means good teachers. You provide them, commercialization will come down.
I would like to respond to this as somebody not keeping in mind the present position I hold, because people shouldn't think I'm biased in what I'm saying. I would, having been in education, both in the private sector and the government sector in the last 38 years, I'll just make 2 points. One, how the national education policy's new light but tight is implemented will decide this. Now, how do you control the unbridled commercialization of education? By ensuring an element of accountability both in the private education sector and in the government education sector. And I think the type of accountability I'm talking about is different. in the private sector, the accountability needs to be in terms of the delivery of quality and what the delivery of quality costs. In the public education system, I think there is another type of accountability that is needed. That is, all those who are part of the public education system, all the stakeholders who are part of the public education system, I think the accountability that they need to demonstrate with regard to the roles that they play. So I think the national education policy needs to, when they talk of light but tight, I think one critical area is with regard to accountability. And that accountability, if looked at properly in both the private sector of education and the government sector of education, it could contribute to the raising of quality in the public sector and in the curbing of commercialization in the private sector.
There were many private medical colleges, private institutions, and very less government institutions. Now, with the government also coming up with the idea of starting medical colleges in each district, government medical colleges, I think the number of seats available for students in subsidized category with government medical colleges is gradually increasing. The percentage of seats are increasing. So then government also insists that the private medical colleges part with some percentage of seats to government. For example, 30% to 40% is expected of private colleges to give it to government. So what the private colleges do is, to educate Peter, they have to steal from Paul. So that's the reason, some of the seats are priced at very high rates. And added to that, in medical education, you need to have a very, capital intensive infrastructure, like in hospitals, the MRI machines, the CT scans, they're all very costly. So to offset that, naturally the cost of medical education goes up. So that's the thing. A day may come when there may be equal amount of government medical colleges and private medical colleges, where government will say, yes, we'll have seats only offered from government medical colleges to underprivileged society, section of society. And private colleges then have to come down. They can cap the fees of private medical colleges and then make it affordable.
And this EQUIP project has been already resourced with very huge funding in the next 5 years, that whatever plan which we normally do, 11th Finance, 12th Finance Commission, that has been presented. So even before the policy came in, the funding arrangement has been already being talked about, decided, discussed. So I think there is no problem about as far as funds are concerned. But of course, the expectations are too high. All of that may not be met immediately because our requirements are so vast.
Use of technology for the examination system as it is happening. The IT technology is already happening from last 20, 15, 17 years, starting from the digitalization and things like that. But in the important component is not the technology component in the evaluation. It is the way of evaluation which is more important to me. The technology component, as and when the technology develops, we'll start adapting it to our requirements, that will happen. But I think the way is, how do I evaluate? That is the more important question to me to ask, and then use the technology for doing that thing for me, Will technology by say also become a part of the evaluation is a question before us,
Now in the new education policy, every teacher has to undergo training, has to excel in his performance through appropriate training programs, then only he can survive. Therefore, biological parents at home have one responsibility. The academic parents at the universities and the colleges have another responsibility. Moral well-being, ethical well-being, academic well-being, all these well-being features of a student has to be taken care of by the academic parents.
So the only issue is in India, what is happening, 40% of the population live in South India, where 60% of the medical colleges are there in South India, including Maharashtra. While 60% of the population live in North India and Eastern India, where only 40% of the medical colleges exist. So this small distribution of the medical colleges need to be addressed. And probably, in my opinion, for example, Karnataka has 6 medical colleges.
We should not stay in the same dogma of the earlier practices. I am an incorrigible optimist that whenever a country has been at its glory, it is because of its educational system. Technology has changed now. Technology has changed so much that we have to take note of it. We have to take cognizance of it.
Which is the oldest on this planet, Bharat, India has the world's richest traditions of contributing donations in the form of money or material. What is philanthropy definition? What is social responsibility in kind, which in today is called as philanthropy or social responsibility?
So therefore, philanthropy need not be restricted to only donating money. It extends to all. For example, the policy document very clearly says, especially in the school context, we need to interact with local artists. We need to interact with the local society. You know, if an artist is actually interacting with the school children, whenever they go and come and visit them, it is actually an element of philanthropy.
One is to very clearly indicate as to where is it that the money is most required. You know, this is prioritization, and every state government will have to do this prioritization for education as part of the policy or part of the policy implementation, so that money from the government as well as from everywhere else comes into that high priority area.
But educating a person will take them forward in life, and that is why the bulk of funding goes towards education. And I'm sure if you look around and look at the condition of government schools, at least in Karnataka, you can see a lot of CSR and individual philanthropy increasing the infrastructure and making it more attractive for children to come to school, especially the midday meal, the devices.
ಸರ್ಕಾರವು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಗೊಳಿಸುವಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲ ಹೆಗ್ಗಳಿಕೆಗೆ ಪಾತ್ರವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದರ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಪೂರಕವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಪೂರ್ವ ಸಿದ್ಧತೆ ನಡೆಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನೀತಿಯ ಕರಡು ಅಧ್ಯಯನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕಳೆದ 3 ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಸಮಿತಿಯನ್ನು ರಚಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಗೊಳಿಸಲು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ರೆಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅಂಗೀಕರಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಂದಿನ ಆಧುನಿಕ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಗಳು, ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳು, ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಥಾಪಿಸಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಬದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ.
The policy states that teachers truly shape the future of children and therefore the nation. It is because of this nobler role the teacher in India is today most respected member of society. I would like to request all the teachers to draw the required inspiration from our ancient tradition while disseminating modern knowledge system. Dr. Arnold Toynbee, after surveying the story of the entire human race, observed, his observations are, it is already becoming clear that a chapter which had a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending.
The NEP lays down foundation by the 2040, all higher educational institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institution. Each will have more than 3,000 students, and by 2030, at least one large multidisciplinary institution in each and every district. The aim will increase to gross enrollment ratio from 26.3% to 50% by 2035.